Dark smoke rose over the red horizon of Karanox 9. The ground trembled, not from nature, but from machines heavy, armed and cold. Human soldiers were retreating, barely holding their lines. Among them was Lance Corporal Theo Markle, a young mechanic turned reluctant warrior. He hadn't planned for war. He fixed engines on Earth's orbital stations. But when the galactic concord broke, every human hand was needed. Theo was drafted and dropped into a war zone far beyond what his training had prepared him for. The enemy wasn't human. They were tall, armored, and deadly. The Elari, cold-blooded mercenaries with pale silver skin and long limbs. They spoke little, killed fast, and took no prisoners. Theo had only seen them from a distance, until today. His squad was ambushed near a wrecked supply outpost. Explosions ripped through the sand. Fire danced over metal. Screams echoed through his helmet until the signal cut out. He dove into cover, his heart hammering, ears ringing. When it was over, the silence felt worse than the gunfire. Bodies lay twisted in the sand. Theo crawled toward a collapsed cargo container and slipped inside. He could still hear bootsteps crunching through the ash. Elari boots. He held his breath, but the steps faded. And then he heard something else, a soft mechanical whir and breathing. Someone else was in the container. Theo turned slowly. His eyes adjusted to the low red light filtering in from outside. At first, he thought it was another human. But no, it was her. An Elari mercenary. Alone. Wounded. She sat in the corner, removing the lower part of her armor. Her breathing was heavy, raspy, but alive. Her pale hair stuck to her forehead, and a dark gash ran along her side. She hadn't seen him yet. Theo froze. What was he supposed to do? Kill her? He reached for his sidearm, then stopped. She wasn't reaching for a weapon. She was reaching for a medical kit. Her fingers trembled as she tried to inject something into her side. The injector slipped from her hand. She cursed in her alien tongue. Theo didn't speak Elari. But pain? Pain was the same in any language. He watched as she fell back, eyes fluttering. He had two choices: leave and hope she died, or help. His hands moved before his brain did. He picked up the injector, crawled over, and held it to her wound. She opened her eyes, her gaze locked with his, silver, sharp. But not angry. Just tired. She didn't resist. She let him press the injector into her side. The hiss of medicine filled the silence. She blinked. Why? Her voice was deeper than he expected. Mechanical but somehow soft. I don't know, Theo whispered. He sat down across from her, unsure what to do next. Minutes passed. Then, she started removing more of her armor. Her chest plate dropped with a loud clang. Beneath it, her skin looked like brushed metal, smooth and scarred in places. Theo turned away instinctively, feeling like he was watching something he shouldn't. Then, without warning, she laughed. A real laugh, rough, surprised. You peek, she said. Human males always peek. He looked back, cheeks red. Sorry, she smiled. A real smile, unexpected and strange on her alien face. I don't mind, she said. You saved me. I didn't save you, I just helped. Same thing. They sat in silence again. No gunfire. No screaming. Just two survivors in a wrecked container. He learned her name was Ryn-kaar. She used to fight for the Elari Queen. Now she fought for credits. A mercenary with no home. What about you, human? She asked. Theo. I fix things, he replied. Quietly. Even enemies? She asked, raising an eyebrow. He shrugged. Sometimes. Enemies are just people you don't understand yet. Ryn stared at him for a long moment. Then she leaned back against the container wall and closed her eyes. I like you, Theo. The way she said it made him unsure if it was a threat, a joke, or something else entirely, but he didn't reply. Outside, night began to fall on Karanox 9. But inside that broken container, something strange had started. Not love. Not yet. Just. Something new. And in a war where death came faster than questions, even a moment like that felt like rebellion. Asterisk. The sun of Caranox 9 rose slowly, casting a red glow across the broken battlefield. Inside the half-buried cargo container, Theo opened his eyes to the sound of distant engines. He held his breath, listening carefully. The rumble was low and heavy. Elari troop carriers. They were still nearby. Across from him, Ryn-kaar was already awake. She sat with her legs crossed, reattaching parts of her armor, her wounds still raw but closed. Her silver skin shimmered slightly in the weak light. She didn't speak much, but her eyes never left him. "You stayed," she said finally. Theo nodded. "Didn't want to leave you for dead." She gave a small nod back, like it meant something deeper than she would admit. Outside, the wind picked up. Sand flew through the cracks. Theo reached for his comms, but it was still dead. No signal, no orders, no backup. "We can't stay here," Ryn said. "Scouts will find us. They always do." "Where do we go?" he asked. "There's an old tunnel system," she replied, pulling up a half-burned map from her pouch. "It's not on human maps. Elari used it for supply drops. We might reach the hills if we move fast." Theo looked at the torn map, then at her. "Why are you helping me?" She tightened a strap on her shoulder. "Because you helped me. You didn't have to." Theo grabbed a small toolkit and his sidearm. "Let's go then." They moved cautiously through the burnt-out ruins, ducking low and staying close to the wreckage. The air smelled like fire and metal. Every sound felt louder than it was. Ryn led the way, silent and sharp. She walked like a predator, slow, sure, ready. Theo struggled to keep up, but he said nothing. He didn't want to look weak, even if. She had saved him from 2 hidden mines within the first hour. They reached the edge of an old processing plant, now broken and abandoned. Rusted walls stood tall, and dark shadows filled every corner. "We rest here," Ryn whispered. Theo sat against a broken beam, drinking from his canteen. Ryn scanned the area with her visor, her fingers on the hilt of her blade. Then she suddenly froze. "Hide," she said. Theo ducked behind the beam as fast as he could. A soft growl echoed through the ruins. Not Elari. Something else. From the shadows emerged 2 Goran beasts, wild alien hunters used by mercenaries to track the wounded. 4-legged, large as wolves, and twice as fast. Their black fur shimmered, and their eyes glowed yellow. Theo gripped his weapon tightly. "We can't fight both." "We don't have to," Ryn replied. "Let them smell me." "What?" "I still smell like blood. If they focus on me, you flank left. Find the high pipe and shoot from above, but don't miss." Theo nodded, heart racing. He waited for her signal. Ryn stepped forward, armor clinking slightly. She made a sharp whistle. The Gorans snapped their heads toward her and charged. She ran. They followed. Theo dashed left, climbed the rubble, and reached the pipe. His hands shook as he took aim. The beasts leaped toward Ryn fast. Too fast. He fired. The larger one turned toward him, snarling. It charged the pipe. Theo tried to reload, but his hand slipped. Before the beast could leap, Ryn tackled it from behind, plunging her blade into its neck. It collapsed in a pile of blood and dust. Theo jumped down, panting. "You okay?" Ryn stood, wiping blood from her cheek. "You missed." "I got one," he said, defensive. She laughed again. Almost impressive. They moved into the tunnel soon after, dirty and tired but alive. Inside it was dark, damp, and quiet. For the first time, there was no gunfire in the distance. Just silence. Theo walked behind her. "Why do you work for credits?" he asked. "Why not fight for your people?" "I have no people," she said simply. "The Elari Queen betrayed my unit. We were used and thrown away." Theo was quiet. I'm sorry. She turned slightly. You humans are strange. You say sorry even when you did nothing wrong. He smiled. Maybe we just care too much. She stopped walking and faced him. That's what makes you dangerous, she said softly. He wasn't sure if it was a compliment or a warning. They camped near a broken section of the tunnel. Ryn removed the last of her outer armor and cleaned her wounds. Theo tried not to look, but again, he couldn't help but glance. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark, alien and beautiful. She looked at him. You peeked again, she said. Theo looked away quickly. I didn't mean to. She tilted her head. You always say sorry. Then she smiled. You're not like the others. No, he said. And maybe neither are you. The war was still out there. But down in the tunnels, a strange bond was growing between a human who fixed things and an alien mercenary who had forgotten how to trust. And it was only just beginning. Theo never thought a war zone could feel quiet. But inside the Elari tunnel, with only the sound of dripping water and his own footsteps, the silence felt heavy. He followed close behind Ryn-kaar, careful not to step too loudly. The tunnel went deeper, older. Strange markings ran along the walls. Elari script, mixed with warnings and faded blood. Theo could read some of it. Danger. Gas pocket. Collapse. We shouldn't go this deep, he whispered. We have to, Ryn replied. The old exit routes are blocked. There's one way out through the fire ducts. Fire ducts? She nodded. They were built to cool war engines. Now they're abandoned, but one leads to the surface. Theo didn't like the sound of it, but he followed anyway. Every step with her felt more like survival, and something more. Like they were no longer enemies. They stopped near a steel door. Ryn tapped on the side panel, but the power was dead. I'll get it open, Theo said, crouching beside it. He opened a small service panel and began working with the wires. Ryn leaned against the wall, watching him quietly. You really fix things, she said after a moment. Theo smiled. Yeah, not much of a fighter, but machines? They listen to me. She chuckled. Maybe you should try talking to people the same way. I try. Doesn't work on everyone. Worked on me, she said softly. Theo paused, glancing at her. You think we're friends? Ryn didn't answer at first. Then she looked away and muttered, maybe. The lock clicked. The door hissed open. Theo stood up. Let's get out of here, he said. They entered a wide chamber, full of old metal pipes and fallen beams. Light flickered above from a broken ceiling vent. For the first time in hours, Theo saw the sky. He stepped forward. Smiling, then heard a sound. Footsteps, not Ryn's. She pulled him back, her eyes sharp. She whispered. 2, maybe 3. Theo's heart raced. We hide? No time. They're blocking the exit. She drew her blade. Theo held up his sidearm. Wait, he said. There's another way. He pointed to a hatch high above, part of the fire duct network. If I can power that vent, we can climb through. Then go, she said. I'll cover you. No. I'm not leaving you alone. She raised an eyebrow. You think I can't fight? I think I'd rather not lose the one alien who hasn't tried to kill me. For a second, Ryn looked surprised. Then, she smiled again. Fix it fast, human. Theo ran to the panel while she moved to intercept the scouts. The fight was quick and brutal. Ryn moved like lightning, her blade flashing through the air. The Elari scouts never saw her coming. One fell with a cry, another slumped silently. The third tried to run, but Ryn shot him in the back with his own weapon. Theo finished rewiring the vent. It roared to life. Ryn, he called. She sprinted toward him. Together, they climbed into the duct. It was tight, hot, and smelled like burnt oil. But it was freedom. They crawled for what felt like forever. Theo's arms burned, and Ryn winced with every move. Her wound had reopened. Still, she didn't stop. They finally reached a hatch at the top. Theo forced it open, and sunlight poured in. Outside was quiet desert. No ships, no scouts. Just a few rocks in the broken sky. They pulled themselves out and collapsed in the sand. Gasping, they'd made it out. For a while they just lay there. Then Ryn rolled over and looked at him. That was reckless. But it worked, he said, grinning. She reached over and gently touched his chest. You have a strange heart. Human, you risk too much. He didn't move. Maybe, but you're worth the risk. Her hand stayed there, just for a moment, then she sat up. We need to move before they find the bodies. Theo sighed and stood. Where now? There's a safe place. A crashed Elari ship I used. To call home. Nobody goes there. Too haunted, they say. Theo followed her across the sand. The sun beat down, but the wind was soft. They weren't sure what they were now. Not allies. Not lovers. Not strangers either. But something new. As they walked toward the wreck, Theo glanced at her again. Even in armor, with blood on her hands, she looked calm, fierce, alive. And every step beside her pulled him deeper into a bond. He didn't understand. She noticed his stare and smirked. You're peeking again, he blushed. I wasn't. She laughed. Don't lie. You humans are terrible at it. And for the first time in days, Theo laughed with her. The war still raged behind them. But ahead, in the desert, something else waited. Something far more dangerous than war. Trust. The Elari wreck was half buried in sand. Its hull cracked and scorched. Sharp metal ribs jutted out like bones. Theo stared at it as they approached, dust whipping around their boots. This was your ship? He asked. Ryn nodded slowly. My first command. Before the betrayal. Looks like it was shot out of the sky. It was. By my own side. She said it like it no longer hurt. But Theo saw something in her eyes. A quiet pain buried deep. She walked ahead, kicking aside the debris. Inside, the ship's belly was dark but dry. Ryn led him to a small chamber near the rear. There were old supplies, rations, even a bedroll. This is home? Theo asked. For now, she replied. Better than dying out there. Theo dropped his gear. You live here alone? Mostly. Sometimes I get visitors, strays, refugees, mercs with nothing left. He looked around. The room was quiet, safe, and somehow it felt warmer with her in it. That night, they sat together on the metal floor, sharing the last of his rations. Ryn offered him some strange Elari fruit, dry and bitter, but it filled the stomach. He looked at her, tired but curious. You ever miss your people? She was silent for a long time. I miss what we were supposed to be, she finally said. We were strong, proud, then we became killers for credits. I didn't see it until it was too late. Theo nodded. Humans aren't perfect either. Ryn studied him. But you still hope. He smiled weakly. Maybe I'm just stubborn. She leaned closer. Or maybe you believe in something real. The moment stretched between them. Theo's heart beat faster. Her face was so close now, sharp angles, smooth metal skin, glowing eyes. She raised her hand and touched his face. Her fingers were cool, careful. You fixed my wound, she whispered. You fixed more than that. He didn't move. She leaned in, then stopped. A soft sound echoed from outside. A thump. Then another. Theo reached for his sidearm. Ryn grabbed her blade. They moved silently to the hatch and peeked out. 3 figures in the sand. Elari soldiers. Scouts, Ryn muttered. They're tracking the bodies we left behind. We have to run, Theo whispered. No, she said, eyes narrowing. They won't stop. If we run, they'll hunt us. We finish this here. 3 against 2? They're not expecting a fight. Theo looked at her, focused, calm. Deadly, he nodded. Tell me what to do. They planned fast. Theo would draw attention. set off a small engine blast as a distraction. Ryn would strike from behind. He ran outside, pretending to stumble. The soldiers shouted and raised their weapons. As they closed in, Theo ducked behind a fuel cell and threw a charged coil. Boom. The explosion lit up the night. Before the smoke cleared, Ryn was already on them. Her blade moved like lightning. One soldier fell instantly. The second fired dash missed. Theo shot back. The bolt hit the soldier's shoulder, spinning him into the sand. The last soldier raised his rifle, but Ryn disarmed him in a second. She pinned him down, blade to his throat. "Wait," Theo said. "We need information." She hesitated, then nodded. Theo knelt beside the soldier. "Why are you following us?" The Elari coughed. "Orders from High Command. The human is important, alive if possible." Theo froze. "Why?" "Don't know. Something about a test." "You're a variable," they said. Theo looked at Ryn. Her face had gone still. "You knew?" he asked. "I guessed. Your kindness, it's rare. They fear it." "Why?" "Because humans who fix things change things." Theo stood, heart racing. "What do we do now?" Ryn looked at the soldier, then at him. "We disappear." She slit the scout's throat. Quick, silent. Theo didn't argue. He understood now. They weren't just running. They were hunted. Later, back inside, Theo sat in silence. Ryn cleaned her blade, her expression unreadable. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," she replied. He reached over and took her hand. "You're not alone." She looked at their hands. Her fingers curled around his. "I believe you," she whispered. And for the first time since the war began, she truly meant it. The fire crackled quietly beside them. Outside, the stars burned over a dying world. But in that broken ship, something fragile was growing. Not just survival, not just trust, but something deeper, something neither of them had ever dared to hope for. Theo woke to the sound of distant thunder, but there were no clouds. It wasn't weather, it was ships. Elari, warcraft. He rushed outside the wreck and saw them. 3 dark shapes moving low across the sky. Not searching, not patrolling, approaching. Purposefully, Ryn was already outside staring up. "They found us," she said. Theo's stomach sank. "How?" "The scouts had trackers. Maybe one got a signal out before we stopped them. We need to run." Ryn turned to him, serious. "We can't run anymore. They want you, Theo. You're not just a human mechanic to them now. You're something more." "I don't understand." "You fixed me. Not just my wound. You changed me. You changed what I thought about humans, about trust. And that's bad? For them?" "Yes, you're dangerous to their control." Theo looked at the sky again, nervous. "So what now? We fight?" Ryn didn't answer right away. She walked to her old locker and pulled out a long curved device, something ancient, glowing faint blue. "What's that?" "A signal jammer. Old tech. Elari scrapped it because it caused confusion. But I kept one. If I place it near their command relay, it'll block orders and scramble their communications." Theo looked worried. "But that means going toward them." She nodded. "We won't win in a fight. But if we confuse them, break their chain of control, we might escape. I'll come with you." "No, you stay here." "No way." Ryn stepped closer. Her voice softened. "You're important, Theo. If I fall, someone has to keep fixing what's broken." He didn't back down. "Then we both go. Or neither of us does." She stared at him for a moment, then nodded. They packed fast. Theo took his tools, a compact blaster and a sensor override. Ryn carried her blade and the jammer. As they crossed the desert, the sky turned darker. The ships were landing near a ridge. Just below it sat a tall relay tower, pulsing with Elari light. They reached a hill overlooking it. Soldiers gathered below, dozens, Maybe more. Theo whispered. We'll never get close. Ryn crouched beside him. Yes, we will. She pointed to a collapsed tunnel on the side, a forgotten vent shaft. It led beneath the relay. They moved. Quickly, silently, down into the shaft. Dust choked the air. Theo's hands trembled as he connected wires, looped power nodes, and reactivated old circuits. The jammer needed to be fed by an external power burst to activate at full range. We only get one shot, he said. Ryn nodded. Make it count. They emerged from the vent directly beneath the relay's base. Theo placed the jammer and pressed. The power button. Nothing. Come on, he muttered. It needs more energy. I need to hardwire it into their node. Too dangerous, Ryn said. Theo didn't stop. It's the only way. He crawled forward, popped the panel open, and connected the wires. Sparks flew. The jammer pulsed blue. From the ridge above, alarms started to scream. They'd been seen. Theo. Finish the connection. Done. Let's go. But Ryn wasn't beside him anymore. He turned. She was standing in the open, blade drawn, walking toward the soldiers. What are you doing? She looked back, eyes calm. Buy you time. No. Theo shouted, but she had already sprinted ahead. The Elari shouted, orders scrambled. Confused, too late. Ryn moved like lightning, cutting through their front line. Theo watched in horror and awe. She wasn't trying to survive. She was trying to give him a chance. He grabbed the jammer and ran toward the vent. Behind him, explosions rang out. Blaster fire lit up the sky. He made it back through the tunnel and emerged near the old wreck, breathing hard, heart pounding, but Ryn didn't come back. Hours passed. Night fell. Theo sat near the wreck's entrance, staring at the dark desert, refusing to believe it. Then he saw movement, a shadow. She limped toward him, blood on her arms, smoke rising from her armor. He ran to her. Ryn. She collapsed into his arms. I didn't think you'd make it, he said, voice shaking. I didn't think I would either, she whispered. Theo helped her inside. He cleaned her wounds, wrapped her ribs, and sat beside her. You were stupid, he said. You would have done the same, she replied with a weak smile. He looked at her, truly looked. Her face was bruised, her body broken, but she was alive. Beautiful. He leaned closer. Ryn. She looked up. You're going to kiss me? He hesitated. Should I not? She smirked. I didn't say no. And then they kissed. Soft, warm, real, not because of war, not because of loneliness, because it was time. They sat in silence afterward, holding each other, the desert wind whispering through the wreck. Tomorrow would bring more danger. But for now, they had this, a moment, a bond stronger than metal, and a promise neither of them needed to speak. The desert was quiet again. For 2 days, Ryn-kaar rested inside the wreck while Theo kept watch. He scavenged what he could, fixed their gear, and checked the skies every hour. The jammer had worked. No more Elari patrols. No more scouts. The command tower had gone silent, and the enemy retreated for now. But they both knew it wouldn't. Last, Ryn sat near the hatch, her side still bandaged, armor off. She stared at the stars above. They'll return with more, she said softly. Theo nodded. I know. They'll burn this whole valley if they think you're still here. He sat beside her. Then maybe it's time I wasn't. Ryn turned to him. You're leaving? I have to. There's a resistance group to the north, human and alien both. If I can reach them, maybe they can protect us or help us escape. You won't make it alone. I know, but I'll try. She looked at him, silent. I want you to come with me, Theo said, voice low. We can disappear together, start over. I can't. She whispered. They know my face, my signal. I'll lead them straight to you. So that's it, he asked. We go back to being alone? No, Ryn said. We go back to surviving. So one day, others like us don't have to. Theo stood, walked to the workbench, and placed something in her hands. It was a small metal tag, his military ID, scorched and scratched. "I want you to keep it," he said. Ryn looked down at it, her fingers tracing the letters. "Theo Markle. If they find me, they'll erase me. But if you keep that, then I'm still out there somehow." Her jaw clenched. "You're not dying." "I don't plan to." He stepped closer. "But if I don't make it, remember what we had here." Ryn stood and pulled him into her arms. "I'll remember everything. The way you looked at me like I was more than a killer. The way you touched me like I wasn't made of steel. You weren't," he whispered. They kissed again, longer this time, slower, like it was the last time. And maybe it was at dawn. Theo left. He walked alone into the desert with a blade Ryn had given him and his heart still beating with the memory of her touch. Ryn watched until he disappeared into the dust. Days passed. Weeks. The wreck stayed silent. Ryn stayed hidden. She listened to the radio signals at night, hoping to hear his voice, hoping he'd made it. Nothing came until one evening. A coded message broke through the static. "This is Northern Outpost 9. Human arrived. Name, Theo Markle. Injured but alive. Speaks of an Elari who saved him. We owe her our thanks." Ryn's eyes burned, but she didn't cry. Elari warriors didn't cry. She smiled. Theo had made it. She stood, walked to the ridge, and looked toward the stars. Someday, she would join him. When it was safe, for now, she would wait, watch, protect what they had built. Not a war zone, not a wreck, but something more. A future. And far away, under a different sky, Theo looked up at the seeing stars, holding a small Elari pendant Ryn had left him the night before he left. Two broken souls. Two quiet warriors, still connected, still alive, still in love.